Today we chat to radio presenter Celest Anthony as she shares her journey on recovery after testing positive for COVID-19. Welcome to The Loft, Celeste.
Hi.
Celeste, you were recently diagnosed with COVID-19. Take us on the journey from the day you decided to get tested and what the symptoms you experienced were that told you, hey, let me rather get tested and just make sure.
Yes, Celeste, I got tested on the 28th May. That was on a Thursday. And as far as I can take it back, I think it was the Monday that I started displaying my first kind of symptoms, which I can only describe to you as having a bubble in my throat. And I know it sounds weird, but that's kind of what happens to me when I get a flu in any way. And so a week prior to that, someone in my building already had tested positive for COVID-19. I had no direct contact with that person. In fact, I don't even know who that person is. However, I thought to myself, you know what? COVID-19 displays much like flu, so get yourself tested anyway, just to be safe. And I'm so happy I did it just to be safe, you know?
Yeah, I think a lot of us are afraid of doing that and taking that bold step. But it's important. You got to know where you stand. If you're positive, you got to know. Okay, Celeste, this then led you to start your own video diary of your experience. So what inspired you to share your journey with others, as many are not willing to tell people that they've got COVID-19?
Celeste, for two reasons. One, when I was diagnosed, I went, Celeste, you've got all the research, you've read all the articles, you've read all the stats, and so you should be fine. But because it was such an emotional aspect to it, I quickly realized that I want to look someone in the eye and hear from someone who actually experienced it themselves. However, I couldn't find anyone sharing that story, at least publicly on social media, and I thought I would become the person that I had needed in that space. So I shared that story publicly so that someone else could, as I said, hear my story and hear my journey from myself. And the second being, when I tested positive, I sat there and went, oh gosh, I don't know anyone personally that tested positive for COVID-19. And that can't be right if I look at the statistics. So I knew that somehow, somewhere, there's someone that I know that is lying, not lying necessarily, but hiding the fact that they test positive. I couldn't figure out why. They're shy, they're embarrassed. And there's some sort of stigma obviously attached to having COVID-19. I wanted to break that cycle. I know when I say break, it sounds huge, but I just wanted to do my small part, at least, in breaking the stigma, and I thought I'd share that story publicly.
No, it's very crucial. I like the fact that you said break the stigma and break the cycle, because it is a big word, but that's essentially what you're doing, because the truth is someone has to have it for another person to get it, and that's just that. So, Celeste, I mean, you've mentioned that your dad tested positive, and you weren't sure if you got it from him or if he got it from you. So how is your dad doing? And did you have any bad feelings about possibly infecting your family?
Do you know, my dad I tested on the Thursday, got my results on the Saturday. My dad tested the Monday, got his results on the Wednesday. And obviously, as you can imagine, I freaked out, to say the least. My dad is over 60. A month ago, he was diagnosed with a different illness as well. And he's got asthma. So he's really in the danger zone, to say the least. And there's a lot of guilt that goes with that, thinking that you might be the one to have given it to your parents. In fact, there's a lot of guilt going in, thinking you might have given it to anyone. However, I must be honest with you when I say every day I woke up and my dad would look better than the day before. This whole thing has really, as a family, brought us closer together. My dad is looking well, he's doing good, and he's at home. He's never been in the hospital once.
Ooh, so we're very thankful and grateful for all these miracles. This is so beautiful to hear. And you know, Celeste, it's funny that you say that there was some guilt within you, because once we spoke a few weeks ago to Lady G, who also tested positive for COVID-19, and she was like, you know, that guilt, questioning yourself, being afraid that you're giving it to someone else. You know, it's part and parcel of the paranoia that comes with COVID-19. But girl, you were not patient zero. You also had to have got it from someone. So there's no need to feel that guilt. Yeah. So I love that in your video diary, you were so real, you know. It really touched many people's hearts and made them aware what it's like to live with COVID-19, more than just what we see in the media. So how do you want us to break the stigma around COVID?
You know what? The first thing I'll say is, regarding the videos, I never thought once about what I would say once I put on my phone, right? Because then it's scripted in some way. I literally put it on my phone and started talking about how I'm feeling each and every day, and whether that meant I would cry, and then I would cry, and you would see how my day is. And so it's really important, I think, to do just that, to be honest and to be real, so that the next person can understand, and that when they're dealt with those cards that you were dealt with, the emotions you know, mentally, physically, emotionally, that they understand that that is normal. That is what you go through when that happens. You are not, there's nothing wrong with you once you're feeling that. So that is really important to me, and that's what I want everyone to know. That is how we'll break the stigma once we talk about not only physical, because a lot that you hear about is about physical symptoms, how you're recovering, but no one is touching on the fact that mentally and emotionally, there's some other symptoms, I would like to say.
And Celeste, I want to talk about that because in the beginning of your journey, through these video diaries, you spoke about the fact that emotionally and mentally, you were fine, you were good. You know, it was just the health that was touch and go. But now we see a complete change and a shift. So how are you coping? How are you healing and coming up? And how did that change happen? When did you start feeling the shift?
I would like to sit here and pretend like I'm all good. But it is, every time someone has texted me in the past week going, how are you? And then my response literally is, physically, I am 100%. Emotionally and mentally, it is quite a ways to go. Because suddenly now you're healthy and there are promises you had made to yourself once you were sick. I'm going to act differently. I'm going to look at life differently. I'm going to have better relationships with people. And I think being faced with mortality so suddenly is shocking, and you start being all over the place emotionally and mentally. And so now I've come to a point where to get all that mess that's going in my head and in my heart, to get it in a structured kind of way, I start writing. Right? So I kind of diarize how I feel every single day, just so it kind of makes sense, and so that I can look back on a Wednesday to Monday and go, I am doing better than I did on Monday. So it's quite a ways still to go, but much better than I was.
And that's a beautiful way of tracking your progress as well, just keeping that journal and noting when the change and shifts happen from within you.
Yes.
And I think that this is valuable advice, not only for people who are dealing with COVID-19 and are positively infected, but for all of us, we're all dealing with these changes. So what advice can you give our viewers should they contract the virus?
Do you know what? I can say whatever I want to say, but once you get your SMS to say you're positive, you will have your whatever emotion it is. We each deal with those emotions differently. But what I will say is allow yourself to work through that emotion, whatever it may be. If it's anger, if it's a regret, if it's sadness, my feeling I can only describe as being numb. I just sat there and read it and I was like numb. However, allow yourself at least one day to just feel that, right? And once you're through that, have a structured plan as to how you will go forward. I woke up literally every single day, and I woke up, I showered, I came back, I made up my bed, I took my temperature at a certain time. I made sure that I consume as much positivity as I possibly can. It is important to keep your mental health in check once you go through this, because that will directly affect your physical health.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Celeste, for reminding us that the two play hand in hand here, and we can't have life in isolation. Our health and our mental strength, of course, do play a journey and a partnership in our lives. We are so grateful that you are healing and that you are happy, Celeste.
Thank you so much.
Cheers.
Bye.
Now, to learn more about Celeste's COVID-19 journey, please check out her social media pages. Please stay safe, sanitize, wash your hands, keep social distancing, and wear that mask.